Hello, 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 hello. Welcome. Are we losing touch with what truly matters in the digital age? Well, in today's talk, discover how excessive screen time is impacting our real life connections and personal growth. Join me as we explore practical strategies to reconnect with our communities and ourselves. Learn about the four M's, the seven C's, and the powerful process of acknowledge, assess, address, and accept. Are you ready to radically reclaim your power and build meaningful connections? Well, welcome to a special edition of Tech Talk, the twice monthly Tuesday deep dive into all things technology, thought leadership, and more. I am your host, Vonda Page, the founder and chief of Radical Change and the Leadership Learning Collective, the LLC. And I want to welcome you to Tech Talk. In today's edition, we are going to talk about reclaiming connection in a digital age. I heard a startling statistic, and I don't know if it was startling because it just seems amazing to me, but I heard a startling statistic, and I'm going to share it with you. I heard a statistic that 93% of an 18-year-old's free time will be spent on screens. 93% of their free time will be spent on screens, not on working out, not on going to the movies, not on having intimate relations with themselves or other people, not on drinking, not on going to strip clubs, bars, restaurants, but on screens. That really blew me away. It blew me away. So, I want to talk about the impact of technology on real life connections and personal growth. And what we're going to talk about very specifically is three things. The first thing we're going to talk about is the importance of reconnecting with real life community. We're going to also talk about the importance of connecting with ourselves because without connecting with ourselves, we cannot connect to real life community. And thirdly, we are going to talk about the process that is necessary for us to connect with ourselves in a way that is authentic, in a way that is curious, in a way that is empathetic, and in a way that is going to drive us towards meaningful results. And at the end, right, I want us to really recognize that personal growth, personal development is an ongoing process and it's something that we should be leading because change is going to happen. And I like to say to people all the time that we can lead change rather than having change drag us around by the neck. And when I say we can lead change, I mean we can be in charge of the changes that are going to happen in our life in terms of how we want things to be different. If we want to have a different relationship, then we can have a different relationship. If we want to have a different body, we can have a different body. If we want to have a different mindset, we can have a different mindset. I'm not going to be difficult. I'm not saying it's not going to be challenging. I'm not going to say it's not going to take you to develop and create new habits and new support systems and change. However, right, it's possible. And the only reason I can say that is because of the things that I've learned, I would say, over the last 50 years of my life. And so one of the things I want to do is empower your greatness. One of the things I want to do is empower your innovation. One of the things I want to do is empower your ability to grow and evolve and transform into the person that you imagine yourself to be or the person that you want to be if you have an opportunity to imagine that. So let's get started, right? The fact that 93% of an 18-year-old's free time will be spent on screens was literally out of the box to me because I thought the young people was out cooking and partying. Like I didn't know they were just literally looking at their screens. However, my last couple of international trips I took, I was very surprised to see so many people looking at their phones while they were walking. Like, and I thought, well, is it just because they're so familiar with where they are and I'm in a foreign country and I'm not looking at my phone except for if I'm listening for the directions. But for all my directions, I made sure that they were only like, okay, one street over, and then I'm looking for this name of the street, and then I'm looking for, like, I made sure I knew where I was going so I wouldn't have to look at my phone. And I found it very interesting and very curious about how many people were really focused on the screen. And so when you think about, right, the way that that has an impact on us, I mean, the first thing, right, it really erodes the way we interact with people, because we tend to think that what we see on the internet is real life. We tend to think that what we see on the internet is real life, and it's not. It's not, not even a little bit. And we have been fooled. We have been bamboozled. I saw a thing today on YouTube, and the young woman said, she's in Los Angeles, and she said most of the influencers, she said, I'm not going to name names, but most of the influencers you see, they do not live in those houses. They rent those houses for $100 an hour or $90 an hour. They rent those places and they stage it. They rent those clothes, $300 a month for bags and shoes and purses and whatever. And they just do that to, for the brand deals. And, I thought to myself, well, yeah, of course, doesn't everybody know that? And then I thought, no, everybody doesn't know that, because we have literally fallen asleep, and we have allowed the internet, and we have allowed social media and the advertisers and the news and cable and politics and everybody else to distract us, such that there is a digital disconnect. And when it comes to connecting with people in our real lives, we don't understand that the people on the internet, the people on the screen, is not the people in the real life. This lady, right? Person who modeled for this picture, and I hope she got paid for it because I really like it. It says everything. Like, that look on her face, like, yes, I got this, right? And for me, this image says making steps forward and upward. It says making connections, and it says feeling good about the radical change that that you're undergoing. And at the end of it, right, the way to get to that is to connect with real life. And when I think about, like, the way I was trying to focus my business when I first started, when COVID had really just hit, I had a really hard time, because what I recognize now is that although I thought those people were part of my community, they weren't part of my community. And so I'm not spelling those words any different ways, but the people who I was relying on to hear my message and get what I was saying were not really part of my community. My community is the actual people that I see when I go outside. My community is the actual people who, I wave to at the mailbox. My community is the people. I go to my local, spot from, this cuisine. They know me because I come in there when, once a month, right? Like, once a month I get Indian food. Once a month I get Thai food. Once a month I get Burmese food. Once a month I get Iraqi food. Once a month I get Nepalese food, right? Once a month I get that's pretty much it for me. I may get Korean food once a month, or Mexican food. I definitely get Mexican food once a month, right? So that's like 4 times a month, maybe 6 times a month I eat out. The rest of the time I'm cooking. The rest of the time I'm cooking. And so I cook, and I'm a vegan, so I cook fresh produce. So I go to the farmers market 3 times a week. I go to one farmers market on Wednesday, I go to another one on Friday, and then I go to another one on either Saturday or Sunday or Thursday, right? And I do that because I want fresh produce and I want to support my local community. So my local community are the people that I've connected to in real life, and my local community are the ones that I'm now able to develop programs for, because I have a survey out, right? I have a community assessment survey that is available at Radical Change LLC.my.canva.site. Radical Change LLC.my.canva.site is where you can take the community survey if you live in Oregon, so that you're included in a type of training that you want for yourself and your local community. The type of training that you believe is going to bring about whatever you want to see in your life. And what I want to really make sure that people have a good understanding of is not only what are the local resources, but what does everybody else want? What is everybody else thinking? Like, and what is it that people want to learn, right? I live in a rural area. Maybe people want to learn more about how to use technology, in their businesses, in their farm, in their lives, right? In a more efficient manner so that they can save money. Well, that's something I'm really good at, right? I've spent the last 4 years streamlining my business down to, 3 apps. And if I was starting all over from scratch right now, if I was going to tell somebody how to run a small business, literally, I would have them have like 5 things would be all they would need, and I would be able to help them ramp up very, very quickly. And once I finish doing a few more things, I'm excited to even do one-on-one small business coaching, in addition to the technology efficiency and technology optimization consulting work. So, radical change leadership is all about providing not only the education but the support, so that we can really advance, right? And everybody to going to depend. But at the end of the day, right, if we are consistently on screens, we're not going to be able to have these real world interactions, right? We already talked about in a couple of sessions previous, we talked about the impact of blue light. We talked about the impact the impact of attention. We talked about the impact of cognitive issues. We talked about all of the impact to excessive screen time. We know what it is, right? And even now on our phones and laptops and things, we had these little things to remind us of screen time and blah, blah, blah. Me personally, I close my darn eyes. I do a lot of things, right, so that I can preserve my eyes. Because I know I've been looking on the screen since 1984, right? And so, and we had TV before, even before that. But I've been on the computer for 40 years. So if I've been on a computer 40 years, right, and I'm already wearing glasses, it would behoove me to focus on how much time I'm spending on the screen. So I try not to do too much reading on the screen. If I have to read something, I try to print it out. But I do use the computer to do graphics like most people do. I use the computer to read email. Like, I'm not going to print out my emails and read them because 99.99% of it is promotional junk mail, right? And bills confirming that this bill got paid or this bill is due. So it's like, it's not worth it, but we have come accustomed to it. And so it's important to take those impacts into consideration, and then it's a perfect opportunity, right, to utilize it for real life connection, right? So we can take, that opportunity to say, okay, well, we want to disconnect from digital a little bit more, right? And we can take that opportunity to build skills in the community. And that's what the face-to-face interactions are going to all be about, right? So when it comes to the Leadership Learning Collective, it is going to be not only my global virtual community, but it's going to also be the local community. And before, I was trying to kick it off with people who I thought were going to be supportive of me and of my business, because we were, in a similar, tax bracket, yada, yada. And at the end of the day, those people didn't even want to barely speak to me. Those people didn't want to give me the time of day. And they definitely weren't trying to help support my business at all. They weren't trying to do it. And I recognize too that, a lot of people have such a lack of self-awareness that they don't really believe that they can benefit from training. They don't believe they can benefit from knowledge. They don't believe that they can benefit from learning something new. And at the end of the day, those are never my people. My people are people who want to learn so that they can be a better version of themselves, whether it's, for the generations to come, whether it's, for themselves, or just because they want to break, the generational curses or the messed up, crap from their family, right? For whatever reason, they want to be better human beings. And so the way to do that is through real life connections. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is these face to face sessions that are also virtual. So sort of like I'm doing the tech talk now. There I will be at either, you know, a local business, local library, or other organization, and delivering the talk. There will be people there in person, plus those of you who will be dialed in. And because I'm opening up the community to my Apple Podcast subscribers, they will be able to join in and then ask questions, and it will be a little more dynamic of a live Q&A, in addition to more of a lecture like the way we're doing it today. However, these lectures are going to be a definite part of the curriculum, that will also be converted and utilized in the Radical Change Leadership podcast, because this is what it's all about. It's really about giving people the tactics, the techniques, and the tools along with the time, right? And the time means investing that time and repeating the same things over and over so that people get it, right? As I did my study on narcissistic abuse and narcissistic personality disorder and narcissism and narcissistic recovery and all of the things, I spent hours, right? Not only reading, but then journaling and applying it to my life. And I do that with everything. And I want to hope that you take that on too when it comes to radical change leadership and all of the things that you're going to get out of the podcast, all of the things you're going to get out of the forums like today, and all the things that you're going to get out of the 3-day or multi-day events, which is the symposiums, which we're going to do once a month. And those are going to be at the end, either the 4th or 5th week of every month. And the first 2 weeks of the month are going to be Tech Tuesday, Workplace Wise, and ThoughtWorks, which is a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday sessions. All right. So opportunity for real life connections, right? That's about community building, having that face-to-face interaction. So I go to the farmer's market. When I go to the different farmer's market, not only am I talking about, wow, the fruits and vegetables look great, but I'm chit-chatting about the things that are happening in the community. Like when I found out that 30.2% of all of Oregonians are food insecure, I was shocked by that number, because we live with all this fresh food. And then come to find out the food banks are throwing away the food. Food banks are even throwing away the food. So not only are they firing restaurant workers and supermarket workers for taking food home that's garbage, but the food banks have so much food that they throwing food away. But yet, right, people who need food don't have it. And although, you know, there is some different programs and different opportunities and different things, we still have that problem. And a way that, you know, to talk about it is talking about it face to face. You could be talking about it with somebody on the internet. You don't even know if they live in the state you live in, and you damn sure don't know if they live in your zip code. But if you see somebody at the farmer's market and they're there every week and they got a little name badge on and they're like one of the coordinators at the farmer's market, that's somebody that's in your community, right? And they're right there. And that's a person that you can get to know in a face-to-face interaction, and that supports building local networks, right? And then that other part of the real life connection opportunity is using technology to enhance real life connections. So what does that look like, right? So I have an app, and that app is called Radical Change, or Leaders Learn Radical Change. That's the app that I hold every meeting in. I don't do Zoom meetings. If somebody invites me to a meeting, literally, unless it is the replay is going to be embedded like from a YouTube video or embedded in their website, I'm not going to watch it, because I'm not going to download Zoom to watch their stuff, because Zoom is unnecessary. And when I think about, you know, how Zoom and everybody else has taken advantage of the consumer and billed us for shit that they didn't give, and deleted our data, stole our data, how do you think they got all this AI stuff right now? So I just don't mess with it. So I use my own app, and my app is what's called a Unified Communications as Service, a UCAS. And what that means is it takes all of those features into one. So not only um, video, but audio only, as well as whiteboarding, as well as chat, as well as screen share, as well as video share, as well as link share, as well as, you know, you can download it and you can download clips of it. You can make clips. and then you can do replies and responses, right? I can literally go back in the video and add things to it and then download it and send it back out. So there's all these things that you can do, super easy and super simple. And the other great thing is, you when you're doing stuff in real life, a lot of times, right, you want to have meetings or you have a really good talk and you're like, damn, I really wish we could have wrote that down. Oh, we should have held a Zoom. Guess what? You have the app on your phone. In one click, you can have a meeting at any time, anywhere, and record everything, no matter what it is. Let's say you and somebody decide y'all going to go into business together, but nobody has a pen and you're trying to write it in notes and you're like, listen, this is what I'm saying. Da, 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 da. All you had to do is meeting, and it would say start meeting or schedule meeting. You would hit start meeting and then you hit record, and then your meeting is recorded. You can take notes inside of it. You can call your partner or buddy or friend or relative, have them join you inside the meeting from their phone, and then you have that. Otherwise, y'all can both meet from the same phone and, do front and back camera. Like, there's all these different options that keeps you inside of one app and keeps you doing one thing. When it comes to, managing your text messages and who to message back first, everybody can message you in your app. You open the app, you see you have 4 notifications. Okay, well, that's the stuff that's most important because you've given everybody the link to your app, and everybody that's working with you, everybody that knows you, they know to connect with you through the app, unless you have the app on do not disturb. But then they know that means you're on vacation or you're, in mid-flight, or you're in client, right, and with client. So you have this opportunity to use technology to enhance these real life connections, but you can balance that, right? Because if you can utilize the technology for your own creative means to build up, your own clientele, right? To do your coaching business, to do your consulting business, whatever you're going to do, you can do that. And that would be using technology for your good instead of using it for the good of Zoom or the good of Google or the good of somebody else. All right. And when you think about working on projects and initiatives in real life, I mean, doing something in real life and being able to do it without having to read somebody's stinking handwriting later, like going to the doctor and saying, hey, can I record this? Because I was trying to explain it to my husband, but he doesn't speak really good English. So then, and recording it, right? And the doctor should be like, sure, absolutely, right? Because it's helping you out, helping them out too. So there's all these like different uses for it, right? You're in some, you end up getting in a confrontation, because of whatever, and you're like, no, somebody trying to make me think I'm crazy. Boom, click start meeting, click record, and you can record the whole thing, and you can have it and you can play it back later, right? I mean, yeah, you could do that in voice memo if you have an iPhone or Android, I'm sure has a similar feature. But now you have everything in one place. You have everything where you can get it, right? And nobody else has to have access to it because it's in a secure location. So if you are, or when you are, right, ready to facilitate better conversations, when you're ready to, really do brainstorming and innovation, when you're looking for tools to work together, when you want, support hosting and participating in-person virtual hybrid programs, and the coaching and consulting work, access to professional guidance, that's when you want to download the app and you want to message me, hey, what's up, or anything, right? Usually once you download the app, depending on what the time zone, I'm going to know within 8 to 16 hours, right? Like literally, unless I'm, like I said, in mid-flight somewhere and I have my phone off, or, it's, I'm on vacation or it's the middle of the night, it may take me 8 to 16 hours. However, you'll be able to connect with me and people that are interested in these conversations and doing this work at any time inside of very specific yet private groups. All right, so we talked about getting reconnected with people in real life. So now let's talk about getting connected with ourselves, because that's the part that please other people, help other people, do shit for other people. At the end of the day, we need to put our mask on ourselves first before we try to put the mask on somebody else. And it's hard. It's very hard for women. And I think for Black women, it's like our kryptonite. It's our kryptonite because the world, the entire world has colonized us into serving them in some kind of way. And now it's so natural to us, we don't even realize that we're doing it all the time, every time, emotionally, physically, psychologically, um, physically, sexually, the whole way. We are a mammy, we are a messenger, we are a mule. That was the beginning of what got me kicked off TikTok, because I had went from like something like 18,000 to 22 or something like that. And then I got to 25 and the content was going good and people did not like that. And it's like a hit dog hollers. Why are you letting my content bother you? Just block it and move on. Well, there's a whole bunch, going on with that. But now that I realize, right, how much colonization has impacted us, how much we have harmed each other and treated each other in such narcissistic ways that we are almost stuck in a really terrible paradigm. And those of us that are out, we don't have a whole bunch of friends. And I had decided a couple of years ago that I didn't want any new friends, but then somehow I got love bombs and I got mirrored, and the whole thing did what it did, and I got out in 2 years, but it still happened. But I also, am a person that have a history of narcissistic abuse in my background. So unfortunately, it was, on the path. But now, because I have all of this self-awareness, I know that having self-awareness is way more important than building external connections. You have to know yourself, love yourself, and trust yourself. And I do know myself, love myself, and trust myself. And I just did not know, because narcissism mirroring you. I didn't realize that, that's one of the key tactics that the narcissists in my life have used in my adult life, is mirroring me, is love bombing me, right? Is future faking me, right? Is just plain old lying to me. Like, because I have this thing called positive projection, and I'm always projecting myself on other people. And now that I have such a greater level of self-awareness about that, now I can um be more reflective, right? More self-reflective. Because the thing is, when it comes to technology, it impedes our ability to be self-reflective and personal growth, have personal growth, because it's always pushing shit down our throat. It's always telling us what to do. It's always, saying this is what you need. You need more lashes, you need this, you need that. So I was looking for something to darken up my eyebrows a little bit, other than a pencil, which I can use at any point in time. And I was thinking I might could find some at home what do they call this stuff? Oh, I forget. They do it at the salon. But I was like, oh, I could probably find a little at home stuff. Long story short, I'm looking at something. I'm like, why is it white? I come to look and realize it's glue. I'm like, glue for your eyelashes, for your eyebrows? No, it was eyelash glue for fake eyelashes. And I was like, oh. And I'm like, okay, they are really trying to tell us that we just don't have no kind of nothing. It's trying to make us change every little thing about us down to the eyelashes. Now, yeah, I wanted to darken up my eyebrows, but damn, now it's telling me my eyelashes are too whatever. And I just thought, like, this is a lot, right? This is why we need to stay off the internet. Because the internet will have you thinking that you are looking crazy and ugly and plain as day, when at the end of the day, everybody on the internet is so made up. In real life, people don't look like that. And when you do go places and people look like that, it looks not good. It looks terrible. Like, when I was in Los Angeles, I seen so many BBLs. I seen BBLs in Mexico. I ain't seen no BBLs in Asia, thank God. But I seen BBLs in Mexico. Actually, I did see a white lady with a BBL. I did. I seen a white lady with a BBL in Asia. But I seen a whole bunch of different people with BBLs in Los Angeles. I seen a couple BBLs in LA. I seen BBLs in North Carolina. And I'm just like, to me, they don't look good in person. But that's me. And maybe I don't know. Maybe you got to be a man to like it. I don't know, whatever it is. But to me, it doesn't look good. But the level of self awareness, right, in somebody that feels like they need a BBL, they don't like themselves that much, because to go under the knife. And I have a friend that died from complications from um some type of procedure like that, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So self-awareness is really important because you have to understand yourself. Otherwise, you end up being in relationships with people who are harmful, and you may or may not know it, and you may have end up having a pattern of it. And it won't be until you really start doing the work of healing that you'll notice it. And technology can impede that also, because with technology comes, people stalking you. From technology comes people learning about you, figuring you out. From technology comes people um, being able to mirror you and to take on those qualities and characteristics of somebody um, that is somebody that you might like and be like, oh, yeah, we got so much in common and blah, 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 blah. That's happened to me over and over and over. Check out my podcast, Managing My Own Radical Change. It is on Apple, Spotify, and the other places. Go check it out because I talk about that. And I'm going to continue to talk about that because I did not understand that I had that pattern. I knew what narcissism was, but I didn't think about it from an individual standpoint. I thought about it from a um, societal standpoint. And once I started putting the two together, I was like, damn. And it made me evaluate a lot of relationships in my life, especially one that I kind of thought was going to be like a permanent relationship. I didn't know it was going to have a 2-year end, even though I saw a lot of red flags the entire relationship. And then I had to ask myself, why did I let those red flags go? Right. And a lot of it has to do with the mirroring. A lot of it had to do with the future faking. A lot of it had to do with the, you know, um, you know, right aspects that fit right into narcissistic personality disorder. And every time I go down to 9 traits, I keep on coming up with 7 of them, 8 of them. And I'm like, oh, darn it. That means it's really bad. It wasn't me. And to have to keep on doing that over and over. But what it boils down to is connecting with yourself, right? So in order for me to to really get that together, right? And not in partly disconnecting from technology, but the self-awareness piece, getting that part together and understanding the self and getting the self concept increased is making sure that I'm focused on my mindset, right? What am I thinking about? And then being mindful with it. What am I talking to myself and saying to myself? What's my message? How am I feeling? What is my mood? And what am I doing from the standpoint of actions and behaviors? What does that look like? So that's the 4 M's. Then the other part is making sure that I understand that as I want to make this shift, right, to connect with myself, there's some things that if I have them in place, man, it's gonna make all the difference, right? So the first 2 things can impede you when you don't have them. And the first is culture. If you're not in a culture where people are learning and growing and self-evolutionary and self-empowering, it's going to be very difficult. If you're not around or in a coalition of people who are focused on self development, it is going to have a tendency to drag you down. Birds of a feather flock together, right? If somebody is doing bad, they want you to do bad. That saying, misery loves company, ain't no joke. If somebody is miserable, get the hell away from them because they're going to try to make you miserable too. I have seen that over and over and over. And especially when it's a person that is supposed to be helping you or something like that. And that's one of those ways you can tell if a person is a narcissist too. It's like they're never happy about anything. They never really smile. They never celebrate. And they never genuine. And it's because they're empty inside. But again, you can learn more about that in the other podcast. So the first 2, right, C's are culture, the environment that you're in, the atmosphere, and a coalition of the people you're around. The next 2 is all about the abilities and skills and things that you need in order to do this connection to yourself. Is you need capacity. That means you need the time and the space and the resources, right? And you need the competence. That means you need new skills. You need new habits. You need new mindsets. You need new tools, right? So that you can become confident. And then the last 3 is all up to you. It's 100% up to you. The first part is conviction, meaning you made up your mind and you decided this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to roll. The second part is courage, meaning you're not going to let nothing stand in your way. You're going to put consistency and persistence into it. The next piece is the commitment, meaning that no matter what, you're not going to give up. You're going to keep on going, right? You because you decided, you are determined. And I have where I talk about determination being really important important, and determination is important in terms of how you're going to show up and how you're going to be who you're going to be. So I talk about like leadership and leaders having a mandate. And when it comes to the mandate, I say that the mandate is all about the three ways that leaders need to be. And leaders need to be authentic. That's number one. Number two, they need to be curious. And number three, they need to be empathetic, right? And I say that all of this needs to happen in an optimistic way, right? You can't be like, mushy or lukewarm about it, right? Authenticity is like, hey, I'm gonna show up as am. I don't give a right? Curious is I'm gonna ask questions to myself, about my past, about my present, about my dreams, about my desires. Because I know what at the root of all change is what? Desire. So nothing could be different. I'm not going to be able to change my relationship with my with technology if I don't have full grasp on my relationship with myself. And if I'm unable to be authentic or curious because I'm in a bad relationship at work, a bad relationship at home, a bad relationship with my community members, a bad relationship with my neighbor, my whatever, then I'm going to have to do some work on that. And the next part is about, how do I do that? Well, I do that because healing is a priority. Healing is our very first job. And we all have shit to heal from. And if you don't have anything to heal from, like I had a client, nothing to heal from. Parents great, and she never had any abuse in her house. She don't even know anybody that was abused. She didn't meet anybody that ever was abused until a friend she met in her 30s. Like she had this like perfect life. Now looking back, I think she's lying, and I think that she just didn't want to face that now. Maybe she thought it was perfect, and maybe she just missed the stuff that was imperfect. Maybe she blocked it out, but I don't know. I just never really heard nobody say they had a perfect life before. But hey, if she did, I hope she did. If she that let me know that self-awareness is also a thing, but she also wasn't ready to really take that to the next level, and that's fine. I work with people that are only ready to go a certain distance, and I'm fine with that. And that's one of the reasons that the model, of supporting people's journey regardless of their ability to pay, that's what it is, right? That's what it is. Because at the end of the day, I know people need what I got. At the end of the day, I know people need critical thought leadership intersection with technology optimization. But more than anything, what does that look like in the context of healing? I think that has to be of growth. It has to be where you start, if you want any kind of success. Techniques, right? It's time and it's tools. The tactics, it's a strategy. You can use some different things, right? You can say, okay, well, I want to work on my early childhood memories and child abuse. I'm going to work on that for the first 6 months. Okay. How am I going to work on that? Techniques. Well, I'm going to do something grounding. I'm gonna do deep breathing. I'm gonna do a little exposure therapy for myself. And I'm going to join a group cohort, and maybe I'm gonna do a little one-on-one coaching. Okay. But I'm definitely going to journal every day and incorporate music. All right, fine. What's next? What's next is time. All right. Well, I'm going to work on it over the next 6 months. I'm going to devote an hour a day to my own healing. Like no matter what, when I get up in the morning, I'm gonna spend that whole first hour healing, from brushing my teeth to my shower to my body care to putting on my clean clothes to taking care of my what. I'm gonna spend that whole first hour just healing, whatever that means. Does that mean I have to sit down and cry? Does that mean I have to sit on the couch and lay down, take a nap? But I'm gonna spend that hour. So whatever that time is, right? And then tools. What do I need? Do I need to download that journal? Do I just need my little notes application on my phone? Oh, damn, I could just use the Leaders Learn Radical Change app, because then I can do video journal, audio journal. I can draw, I can sketch, I can paste in links, I can sing, I can put in, uh, what's the word? I can put in graphics, right? I can put in pictures. I can do whiteboarding. I can do all of these things, right? So I have the tools available to me, right? And then, it's all it's all about, embracing this whole journey, right? Because when you're healing, there's some steps that you need to go through, right? The first piece is really like, okay, acknowledging what went down. Okay, well, um, my past was filled with a lot of abuse, a lot of narcs. Or I worked at a lot of companies that really took advantage of me. Or, I lived in a lot of abject poverty and it was really tough and depressing. Or, my parents died when I was really young. Or my dad left and my mom, struggled my whole life. Or whatever, right? It's just acknowledging the past, right? The second part is just assessing, like, what does this mean, right? And what's the gap between your life and what you believe it is and what you want it to be, right? It's what you believe it to be. The next part is addressing the right. It's addressing the wounds and literally saying, all right, well, I'm gonna address this. I said I'm gonna have a strategy, and that's what the addressing it is. And so I'm going to do somatic exercises. I'm going to do deep breathing. I'm gonna do grounding. I'm gonna do exposure therapy. But I'm going to cry when I need to cry. I'm gonna say, hey, look, I need time. I'm gonna do what I need to do. But I'm going to get in these wounds, and I'm gonna touch them, and I'm gonna deal with them, right? And then finally, is and seeking support to do so, right? A coach that's going to help you with recovery therapy. I have mentored and coached hundreds of people over the last 40 years. I would say the first part of my career, it was probably 40-60 men, 40% men, 60% women. I would say now it's 85% women, 15% men. And I would really love to work with men more, because men have such an opportunity to really shape the future of their own families, the communities, and the world, if they just start forgiving themselves of everything that they believe that they did wrong, as well as the things that they know they did wrong, right? And that part is a real healing piece. But the last piece is really about radical acceptance, right? So, acknowledging what happened, assessing, what it is versus what you want it to be, addressing the pain, addressing the wounds, addressing the plan to move forward, but then finally accepting, right? Accepting, radical acceptance of things happened. I couldn't control them. It is what it is. But now I'm going to embrace the journey moving forward, understanding that personal growth is this ongoing process, right? And putting together a plan to make it happen for yourself. Like, it's September now, and I've shared with people that before the end of the year, I'm going to lose this final 20 pounds, and I'm going to be at the weight that, I feel the most comfortable, the weight that makes me, feel the most healthy. And I'm embracing the journey to get there. I had the two yesterday and today. Two I need to do is perfect two more recipes. Well, one, two, three recipes I need to well, four more recipes that I need to perfect. And I cannot imagine ever going to a vegan restaurant ever again. I can't. If I can perfect these next four pieces, there's so many things I know how to make now. If I can do these next four, it's game on. I'm never going to another vegan restaurant. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't go out and order my food vegan, because when I go to my Indian, I I get the vegan thali dinner, right? I go to the Mexican spot, I get the vegan dinner. However, once I get these other things under my belt, then there will never be a need to do what like those American vegan spots again. So that is me embracing this future of, being able to cook more raw food and being able to perfect more recipes and enjoy my own food more, so that I don't have to go out, because I love cooking my own food. It makes me feel healthy. It makes me feel clean. It makes me feel like, yeah, I definitely know I'm gonna live another 55 years, and it's amazing, amazing feeling. So it's also about that positive outlook, right? Like of every change that you want to do, right? But in order to get there, right, it's all about doing that acknowledgement, assessing, where you are and where you want to go, addressing the wounds, and then, doing that radical acceptance that you can't go back and you can't change time. You cannot change time. So when it comes to, the way that we determine, right, that we are going to um, connect with technology, we get to choose how we're going to do it. And what I'm going to say is that because we know that 93% of an 18-year-old's free time is going to be spent on screens. That is our key to take that knowledge, right, and run with it and do a few things. Number one, to reconnect with real life community. Reconnect with real life community. Go patch if you have them. I hope you do. Go to your local dairy farm and get fresh eggs. Go to your local farmers market and meet your neighbors. Period. When you go pick up your mail, say hey. When you go to get your groceries, say hello. Meet your neighbors, right? Connect with your community real life. Number two, connect with yourselves, right? Really get into, do you know, love, and trust yourself? Really get into self-awareness and really look at how technology has touched your life or messed with you, right? Look at those 4 M's. How is your mindfulness coming with the technology? What's your feelings, the mood? How are you moving about and your activities and behaviors and your message? What is your self-talk when it comes to connecting with yourself, right? Are you in a place where you're going to able to see results, right? Are you around in a culture and around a bunch of people, a coalition that's going to support what you're trying to do? Do you have the capacity, the resources, and the time? Do you have the skills, right? Do you have the actual skills, the competence, right? To make it happen? And then are you firmly convicted with courage and committed to do it, right? Are you able to show up as a leader with the authenticity, curiosity, and empathetic nature and empathetic behaviors and mindset and self-talk? Are you able to show up like that? And can you do that in an optimistic way, always knowing that the glass is half full and I'm gonna make it, right? And finally, right? Do you know that healing is job one? Healing is your top priority. And if your personal healing, empowerment, and growth is not the thing that you focused on with the right tactics, the right techniques, the amount of time you need, and the tools, you're going to struggle. But the steps for healing involve, acknowledging, right, the impact and what happened, assessing the current state where you want to go, right? Addressing addressing right the wounds, addressing the pain, and then doing the radical acceptance so that you can really move forward and have that positive outlook. Listen, thank you so much for joining, because you get the opportunity, right, to stay in touch with what matters. And I think what matters is our sense of self. I think what matters is the love and the relationships and the success that we have in life. And I think that we get to decide all of those things. Hey, thank you so much for joining me for this edition of Tech Talk, and I'll see you soon.